Hey everyone, it's Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Maltzner. I'm Victoria. I have to say your name every once in a while because you don't say it at the beginning or end. And so I wonder sometimes if people just don't know what your name is.
I like to think they don't, and I'm just a mystery.
It's episode 149 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. What are we talking about today, Victoria?
We're going to talk about the Odyssey episode of last month, which is always do your bestest-ish. Sam 638. Sam hasn't written very many episodes.
What is the other one?
And also
Force Awakens?
The Time for Action Part 2. Yeah, I did it! Yeah!
You did it, Dad!
I did it!
You did it, my dad! Good job!
You're welcome, son.
Goodbye! Goodbye, my kids!
I don't know what you're talking about.
Was it Dust? Dad used magic competently.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye! Goodbye, our dad!
Goodbye.
You did it! The curse has been lifted! Goodbye, kids! Goodbye, I'm leaving you now!
Oh, you have to yell that. If I actually... The day comes where I actually introduce myself at the beginning of the episode, and at the end,
that's what
you have to yell, "You did it!" And I'll yell, "The curse has been lifted!"
Yeah. And Travis is like, "You've been listening to the last episode of the Adventure Zone."
Dust had so many funny
That's my
bits.
favorite Clint clip of all time.
It's so funny.
It's directly above. What flavor is the vape? Pea flavored vape. Go to jail. Okay, always do your best. Episode 843, written by Sam 638.
He hasn't written very many episodes, has he?
Well, he's written one more since last time we talked about how many episodes he'd written.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Well, this episode is a win. You know what kind of win, Devin?
A win-win?
A continuity win.
Ah, yes, it is.
It made me feel like the OAC
actually matters
was an
and
actual
exists.
Album that had continuity through
I know,
it.
right?
And it was like so good.
We got double continuity.
And I loved it. Yeah, we got double continuity. If they addressed the PTSD that Renee probably has from all of her horrible experiences with the Imagination Station, we would have gotten triple continuity. That's 3 Willy Washers, Devin. It's so good. Yeah, so in this episode we had 2 plot threads, both of them having to do with past OAC episodes.
From last year, historical episodes.
Okay, they were last year. I couldn't... For some reason, I was like, I feel like these weren't this year, but I feel like they wouldn't do such good continuity if it wasn't this year.
Yes, One More Name was January to March last year.
Win.
Sperry McGurk was like August or September last year.
That sounds right, because I remember listening to Sperry McGurk while I was working at the library. You do it.
Okay, so on the one hand, we have Olivia, who has written a play adaptation of the story of Irena Sendler from last year's One More Name, parts 1 to 3. It is going to be put on at the school and is being directed by Zoe Grant.
Everyone's favorite character. Actually, I feel like we can't make jokes about Zoe anymore because she's
actually
in
been
too
in
many
enough
episodes.
She has, surprisingly though, when I put this in her playlist in iTunes, she's been in a lot less episodes though than I thought. Like this was
really?
her 4th episode. I know, that's the face I made. It might have been 5th. It's probably 5th.
It has to be 5th.
But I was like, I thought she was in way more at this point.
Maybe you missed episodes in the playlist.
Nope, I checked AIOO Wiki to be sure because I didn't believe it.
That doesn't sound right.
I know.
I think
there has been a number of times that Jay mentioned her.
Zoe has been in almost as many episodes, if not more, than Macy.
That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say.
So...
no, I think I was confused because Olivia and Jay have both mentioned Zoe a number of times in episodes in which she did not appear.
Yeah,
so it's kind of thrown off my brain box. So that play is going on. Zoe's directing it, and Olivia is counter to her own expectations, is not cast as Irena, but cast as Irena's mother.
Which, honestly, that's not that bad.
No, but she wanted to be the star, and it's especially bad in comparison to the fact that Irena was instead played by Valerie Swanson.
And I was like, it's kind of crappy that they cast Valerie instead, but...
You know what? Zoe had a very valid point.
But, like, just because you write it doesn't mean you're going to be the main character, especially if someone else is directing it.
Manuel Miranda.
And then you actually get to hear them acting the first bit, and I was like, wow, Olivia sucks, and Valerie's doing amazing.
Yeah, Zoe had a good point.
Call, Zoe.
Like, Valerie's a terrible person. She lies about everything. And Zoe's like, yeah, that's why she's a good actress. It's like, you're right.
She actually did, like, an amazing job. She sounded like she was, like, straight up crying.
And she wasn't hamming it up. Like, she actually did a good job.
And, like, Olivia was making me cringe so bad.
Olivia wanted to be Lin-Manuel Miranda, but instead she ended up being M. Night Shyamalan.
She ended up being Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, that's valid. Okay. And then she keeps on trying to self-aggrandize her part. Which doesn't go well, and then finally she has to accept just do good in where you are right now. And then Renee is finally...
Tearing me apart, Valerie!
Finally, Renee is almost done this Imagination Station program, which she has been working on for like 9 months at this point.
I have a new theory about why
now
we don't see her all the time.
Now we know why it's taken her 9 months, because apparently you have to do a lot of detail when you program from scratch.
I was telling Mom about this episode this morning, and I thought it was so cool that we found out all these new things about the Imagination Station. I was listening to it, and I was just like, this is amazing, and Devin's gonna be so excited. He's gonna want to redo that Imagination Station episode we did before.
No, I don't have to. You know why? Because every new thing we learn about how the IS works still fits in line with the things that we thought.
Okay, that's good.
It's great. It's so exciting.
Nothing fit up with what I thought at all.
Well, you don't remember the scene with the giant hammer where Renee has to hit herself in the head with a hammer to program?
But I was telling Mom about it, and she's like, that sounds like it takes so much time and be so complicated.
Well, that's
right?
The thing, is it doesn't normally take that much time, but it's like you have to do this one from scratch. She's basically programming in Visual Basic.
But, like, I figured out why we never see Renee all the time.
She's always working on this program.
No, it's because she's had so many traumatizing experiences with the Imagination Station that she quits, like, every couple days. And then she gets rehired, and everyone thinks she's kind of flaky because of that, so no one likes talking to her unless she's actually working at Wits End, because they're like, okay, maybe she'll stay this time. And then Connie, I think it was Connie, slips up in that one episode in the actual show.
Yeah, in Crash Course.
Yeah, in Crash Course, when she
is looking
sees
for Jules.
Renee, and immediately after, she doesn't say anything else about Renee because she's shamed. She's thinking,
that's why she didn't talk to
I
her
wasn't
on the
supposed
street,
to say anything.
Because we're shunning
Renee.
her like we're Amish.
Because we're shunning her because she just quit for the 50th time.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that's
so
my
she's
newest
working
theory.
on it.
What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds accurate.
Thank you.
She's trying to finish this program, but it keeps on glitching up.
We haven't gotten any more stuff about her dog.
Trying to be efficient in her programming, and it's like, you need to build this from scratch. You need to, like, farm the silicon from the earth to build the microchips to build this.
I want you to tell me if these characters do or do not have dirt under their fingernails, Renee. I need details.
Yes. I mean, it's like something that I just forgot. That's what it's like.
I know, right?
I know.
Yeah. Crazy.
No, yeah. The amount of detail is, like, obviously you wouldn't put that into every program, and that's kind of the point. And that's what we theorized when we were wondering why this was happening, and then in the original episode in The Legend of Spirit McGurk, and then what confirms it in this one when he's like, you need to know the rules before you can break the rules. It's like when you're taking music harmony and it's like, you can't have parallel octaves, and it's like every song I've ever played before has parallel octaves, and it's like, but you can only break rules if you're famous.
I really want fan art of the Barclays as the Incredibles now.
That's fair.
Can you do, like, a Photoshop where you just put their faces over the Incredibles?
Where am I getting Stuart Reed Barclay's face from?
You just put an actual live baby's
okay,
face and make it horrifying.
That's fair.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I'll like stretch and warp it to make it look like Gary Lockhart.
Do it. And put like a creepy shine to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just like J.J. Abrams it up with the lens flare.
Do it. Do it. Put a baby from a J.J. Abrams movie onto Jack's face.
I'll put baby Chris Pine.
Do it.
So, yeah, and then Renee finally is like, all right, I'll do it from scratch. And then she just makes
that's what I was
gonna
say.
I was gonna say it's like that channel on YouTube, the Basic Technologies, where the guy like makes stuff from just what he finds in the wilderness, and then he progresses over time, like making like knives and bowls, and then like ovens and kilns, and they can smelt metal and stuff like that.
I thought you were gonna say it's like really bad life hacks things. What Renee did, where she was like, okay, everyone, we're gonna
800 clones.
Yeah, just like, we're going to do a life hack of the Imagination Station. We're going to make a program really fast. I'm just going to make everyone the same person. Maybe Mr.
She was trying to speedrun programming, yeah.
And that was my horrible I heard, act.
Yeah.
How was it?
I was almost half expecting them to do like a Star Wars joke about the clone army that she created.
I'm surprised. She was surprised Whit didn't comment on it sooner.
So, yeah, and then finally she does it right. Finally. So.
Finally.
Yeah, so.
Good job,
we came back to Irena Sendler and One More Name, which was super cool. And not only that we're coming back to that story, but specifically calling back to Olivia's connection to the story, not just the story in general. And then,
I like how they emphasized out of all the relationships, the one with her mom, because that was definitely like, even though it wasn't
that's a good point. They didn't just they focused in on that and not with what's his face
on like the romance. I mean, we did hear Juan. No, that's not it.
His name was not
that's
Juan.
the name of the guy from that other episode.
Never for Nothing.
Yeah, I like that episode. Sorry, I just had a moment there. That episode gives me feelings. But yeah, instead of like focusing on like any other relationship, or I was gonna say like the actual things that she did, which arguably maybe they should have been doing that. They focused on like the relationship, and I really like that. So like I'm not gonna pick on them at all for that, because I liked that. I thought it was good.
So we had that, and then suddenly we hear Spurry McGurk talking about going and fight the Confederates and stuff, and I was like.
And I was just like...
This is not Irena Sendler.
Yes! I got so excited.
I was very confused.
I
was like
excited.
thinking. I paused it.
Did you forget who Sperry McGurk was?
No, but I was confused about why he was in the episode.
Oh.
Because it just launched into like, now we're listening to Sperry McGurk talk to this guy. And I'm like...
No, the second I heard it, I was just like, we're getting more flashbacks. I heard Renee and Whit. I was like, we get to hear her programming something. I got really excited.
I was like, why is Sperry McGurk here? And then I paused it and was like... Oh, this is going to be Renee working on a program. I suddenly realized, and then when I hit play, literally half a second later, Renee started talking. I was like, yes, I was right.
I was so happy.
So yeah, then we got...
I liked Renee a lot in this episode.
We got a callback to a completely different AIOC episode from last year, which was cool. I was super confused for those like 5 seconds before I like remembered the narrative framework around Whit telling the story, which is that Renee was writing that program. I was so glad, like you said, to hear Whit talking more about the nitty-gritty of the programming process. The interesting thing is that when the original episode came out, as I said, we pondered on the fact that Renee even needed to program at all, because the IS can write its own program given sufficient raw data input. And we figured at the time it was a training exercise where she has to do it from scratch, the hard way, so she knows how to debug and stuff. And then here... Whit talks about the AI matrices that are custom to each program, which lines up with what we knew previously, and he says that Renee will need to create the matrix from scratch for a new program, which makes sense, so we can assume that if the IS was auto-generating, it would create this own matrix from a base template, and then later Whit says what I said before, about how like you need to know the rules before you break the rules, which is absolutely true about learning to program in like a specific language. So,
sorry, I was thinking of Griffin. Yeah.
That's what this is.
Needs to go back in the oven.
This was Renee's episode of Monster Factory.
Pretty much. But she, who was the monster and who was the man.
This is Bells. The bells of Notre Dame. Da, 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 da.
I love Clopin so much. I love him so much.
That's a good song.
I remember everyone was like at the Disney Marathon the year you graduated or whatever.
Yeah.
They were picking out Disney characters. They're like, I would want to marry that guy. I was like, I want to marry Clopin. And then we looked up his actor's Wikipedia page. He was like 80 and he'd been dead for like 20 years. And I was like, I stand by my reasoning.
So he 80 and then died for 20 years, or he would have been 80 if he had not died 20 years prior?
I think it was the first one. And I was like, I stand by my reasoning.
Cool,
he has a beautiful voice. It was hilarious.
Yeah, so we were nice, and that was cool. And then there was the cool scene where Whit like isolated the character profiles to interview them, and it was like straight out of Westworld. And I was like, oh,
I
nice.
never even thought about.
He was like, because he was like isolate character profile matrix so that he could interview and like interrogate the individual
took like a
characters.
Knife and he like carved open the top of their skull
and pulled the golf ball out of their heads.
A golf ball out of their heads. He was like, we need to get the maze. And then
you need to finish season 2.
I need to see Logan so bad.
So you should watch the rest of season 2.
Logan.
Um,
okay, wait. I got like so many Blackbird's Revenge feels, not even feels, just like, or feels like, this feels like Blackbird's Revenge. It reminded me a lot of it. Like,
especially because it was like cannon fire and
later
stuff
on in
too.
the episode. And they're like, oh, nope, you can't get out. And I was like, well, goodbye, Renee. I was like, this is the real reason why we haven't seen you in the show.
Yeah.
All your episodes were back to back, and then you died.
We'd had to cover it up.
Yeah.
No, yeah, so we see that what's like, you need to like individually super detail all these characters. It's wild. And I was like, if this is the level, like I know that obviously very early on would have been increasingly come up with ways to automate this process so that he could get more programs out. But if this is the level of detail he had to put into the first program when he first created the station, it must have taken him a year to make that crucifixion program. Either that, or maybe still
longer than a year.
Either that, or it was way more railroaded than we realized, and most of the crowds were faceless, voiceless Ruby Volume 1 silhouettes.
He had to update it, and
for album 50?
Yeah, for album 50, and when Kelly went in. Because if Digger... Oh, no, it would be like the night... you're going to get upset when I say this. It'd be like how the night before I saw Incredibles 2, we watched Incredibles 1 again, and there were lots of character models I saw, and I was like, ooh, that didn't age well. And I was like, ooh.
I will accept that because
and then we watched Toy Story 1.
You've seen Tony
Tony
Ridinger in the first Incredibles.
Yeah. And then we watched... the first Toy Story movie a couple nights later, and I saw Molly, like Andy's little sister, and I like screamed because I was horrified.
3D modeling's hard, okay?
So I feel like if, imagine present day Digger goes back in, and he's just like, he has kids now, and he's like so proud, and he got Whit to like set up. Whit was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. It's like, no, trust me, I want my kids to see it. It'll be such an experience. And then, like, it'll scar them, too, and they'll know why I'm so messed up. And then, Whit runs album 5 crucifixion program, and then Digger just goes in, and they're just like, oh no, the graphics, they're so bad.
Oh, so cringy.
Oh, it's so cringy.
The frame rate. Oh, can you imagine, like, real life frame rate lagging? Jesus was T-posing.
How horrifying it would be if you
That's
were
the worst
lagging.
joke I've ever made. Jesus T-posing on the cross.
Stop. You imagine how horrifying it'd be if you started lagging.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. If you're like...
Gosh. What's wrong
like
with
your
me?
brain has like 5 FPS.
And then you start sinking through the ground, and you're like,
you start clipping through the earth.
Help me! And they were like, and Digger starts sinking, and his kids were like, Daddy, no! And you're just like, oh, why? Why did I think this would be a good idea?
It's basically like the new Jumanji.
And they're trying to, like, put robes on Digger so he looks like he fits, but they just keep on clipping through his arms, and he lifts his arms up, but the robes stay in place.
It was so old. Whit was using, like a Bethesda level
gosh.
of programming for entities and stuff.
And Digger's, like, talking to everyone at the Last Supper, and then a guard runs in and starts stabbing people, like, in the middle of dialogue, and Digger's like, this isn't supposed to happen! This is the best joke I've ever made.
I love video game goofs. Oh man, I love games.
And Digger falls through the earth, and he's just like, "Oh,
he's
is this
below the map?"
He like starts walking, and then like a doorknob won't go, and he accidentally walks into a door, and then he just like goes through it, and he's like, "Oh, is this the new door program that I hear so much about?" And then he's like later on in the story, but it's not because of the doors; it's just because it was a massive glitch. And he comes out and they're like, "Digger, it's been like 20 days. You got really stuck in there and we couldn't get you out."
So
it was touch and go. You froze there for a minute. You also temporarily died, so you're not married anymore, too. Can you imagine if... there was one joke I was going to say in the last episode, but then I didn't get the chance to. Could you imagine if, like, when Whitrow woke up from the mortal coil, Tom's like, "Wait, you died, so you're not married anymore?" It's like, "I know I'm not married anymore. I wasn't
Thanks for reminding me,
Tom." He starts crying.
Oh.
Then you're super not married anymore.
So, yeah, speaking of all the glitches, yeah, Renee's like, "Oh, I'll just modify the source code for the imagination station." I was like, she's gonna delete system 32. This is why Wit has so many backups of the source code in the programs.
I'm just thinking how funny the Digger glitching.
That was funny. Yeah, it literally is like the Monster Factory.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so like you said, I get so scared for kids every time they get trapped in the imagination station is glitching. They're unable to escape. Like, especially
if like they have a panic attack like Alex did.
So yeah, the second time that happened was with Alex, and they had to like break open the glass with the fire extinguisher.
And like Wooten was the only person home, or not home, like home at wit's end.
Let us all remember the last time that they were unable to use the emergency shut-off button for the imagination station, and the solution was to literally self-destruct it. Yeah, it's dangerous.
It is dangerous.
I think for the lesson for this episode, as far as it goes...
The imagination station is dangerous.
Yeah. As far as the lesson for this goes, I think I still prefer something significant, but this was still a good episode, and I really liked how it revisited 2 different historical stories from last season at once.
You know what's funny? I was thinking, like, man, that was a really good lesson. And then later that day at worship practice, I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, that was just something significant, and something significant did it better. And I was like, but this was still good, though. Yeah. Not as good as something significant, because that episode is, like, one of my favorite Odyssey episodes. Mm-hmm. But this one was, like, really, really good.
It's really coming through the window up there now. There are pillows blocking the window, but
there are?
Yes.
Oh.
And then there's a video doc for this month. It takes us to a theater in Missouri.
No! That was bad.
That's so bad, you're right.
Sink down! Sink down!
Alright, we're just here now. The dog takes us to a theater in Missouri that produces Broadway-quality stage musicals of Bible stories called Sight and Sound Theaters. And honestly, from the clips that they show and the size of the set and the stage and the cast, it actually seems surprisingly comparable to Broadway size and quality.
Did you think Olivia and Renee were actually going to die?
No.
I contemplated it for a second.
This was one of the longest video docs we've had in a while. It was 21 minutes long, and the entire video was spent like at the theater there doing this stuff. One of the most interesting ones that they've done in a while, so it was nice.
Also, Sam heard my plea from several episodes back where I was just like, where's the imagination station? And we got it. So I was like happy about that. It wasn't the exact way I wanted it, but we got info on how it worked, and I was like, you know what? This is better.
I'm going to fix the window.
Thank you.
The sunburst is growing.
I really liked this episode. Oh, no. This is horrible. I really liked this episode. I thought it was some good stuff. I think I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5.
That's better.
No!
You talk about your thoughts. I'm going to get a third pillow.
Good idea. I don't really have that much more to say, though.
We'll go.
I don't really know, I don't really have anything negative to say about the episode. I just don't know if it was, like, 5 out of 5 stars. but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. All the callbacks were really good, and everything was great. And I just can't stop thinking about how funny all that stuff with Digger was. I need this to be an episode now.
This is why I appreciate in Vancouver, where we have so much more control over our lighting situation.
That's because the light's shining on us horribly and not behind us.
Yes, there we go.
That worked.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, this episode, give it a 4.4. It was cool that we got those 4.6. It was cool that we got those callbacks. We got to learn a bunch and see some of the nitty-gritty insides of the programming of the IS, which was super neat. And it is a good theme, wherever you are, always do it to your best in the name of your Lord Jesus Christ.
I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah. It was good, and it was solid callbacks, and especially given the fact that both of these were inside of the Adventure Club. That was good. It was good that they were like, hey, this actually happened. It's canon. I
would like more continuity like this in the future. It'd be really nice. Yes. Because this was really good. I really liked it. Next episode. Go.
Yes. Now let's talk about a time for action.
Go.
Swipe time shift. Big time shift there. It's evening now.
Time shift.
Let's do time.
Okay.
Do.
You've never seen that musical?
I have not, but I saw the free play episode, which is basically the same.
No, it's not. I had to go rewatch the free play episode once, actually. The musical is weird.
Things don't usually get to be cult classics without being so, I think. So now we're talking...
That's arguable. True.
So now we are talking about A Time for Action Part 2, episode 595, written by Nathan Hubler. What happens in this episode?
Oh, I was about to start reading what you wrote as a synopsis. So this is the second part of Eugene trying to find his daddy. His papa. And we have like the B plot still going on with Grady and
Yoel.
No.
Joel.
No.
Christy?
Yeah, thank you, Christy, of like giving to the less fortunate than themselves, and like they decide like even though they got all the stuff from Hand Up, they were gonna give it to Joel.
The church.
Yep.
Hand Up does not. Wait, yes, it does exist, but that's not from Hand Up.
Whatever. The helping hand thing or whatever it's called.
It's not Manu Sorsum.
Leave. It's my podcast now.
Please?
Go.
I wish they'd stuck with please.
I don't.
It's such a good name, though.
I think Hand Up is better.
I was confused because I wasn't really familiar with that as like an idiomatic expression before. I've only heard it like twice maybe in my entire life, like giving someone a hand up. And like helping hand, I was like, yeah, helping hand. I'm like, that makes sense. But hand up, I didn't realize when first hearing those that was like an actual phrase. I was like, that phrasing doesn't make any sense. And then I finally found out like, oh, this is actually a thing people say. That makes more sense.
Is it like an American thing?
I don't know.
Anyway. So, in the main plot, we got Eugene and Whit talking on the phone, trying to figure out, like, where the fax was sent from. That leads them to PJ and this, like, 7-Eleven place. PJ
Excuse me, it is Pete's Gas and Chow, home of the Jumbo Ford Victoria.
Pete's Gas and Chow, they go there. It leads them to, like, a description of this guy named Joel, and then that leads them to the place where Joel was at, which homeless shelter. Yeah, the homeless shelter, and then he sees like Grady's blanket, ground. And then
like album 15.
They get Grady after like Joel runs away upon seeing Eugene, and Eugene yelling like, "Wait, Leonard Milsner!" And he's just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Understandably.
Yeah, it is.
I know.
And then Leonard throws like smoke bombs behind him. He's like, "You'll never get me, Dalton." And then they're like, Grady, go invite Joel. And I'm like, well, it's a good thing he didn't go undercover and, like, completely flee.
Go literally underground.
Yeah, like, dig a little hole, become a mole person.
It's a good thing he wasn't in Odyssey, otherwise he could have gone underground. He could have just gone into McAllister Park and, like, burrowed in a tunnel under Woods End.
He could live in that underground railroad.
Could you imagine if Eugene spent all his time searching for his father and turned out he's living underneath Wits End the whole time in the tunnels?
That'd be really funny. Like a Gopher Man.
Be like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
And they call him, like... They say he isn't skinny anymore, which confuses me for
I think he was just wearing,
reasons.
like, a big coat or something and, like, padding it to look different.
Oh, okay.
I imagine. Because
like,
on the cover of 47...
yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's supposed to look exactly like Eugene.
Uh-huh.
Pole cheese stick Eugene. Eugene is literally if you take a cheese string and then you peel up the little pieces to make a body. That is what Eugene looks like.
I think Leonard just dug into his tickle trunk to hide himself.
And anyway, then they just, like, go to the dinner that's being hosted by the church. And then he's there, and then in front of, like, literally everyone in the room, they have, like, this father-son moment, and I'm like, way to be conspicuous,
it's very
guys.
secretive.
How did no one else figure out this was Leonard Maltzner? Like,
I know.
He's so bad.
I mean, it's not, they weren't
so
loud, he wasn't yelling, but they
I
were...
know, he was, like, stage whispering,
I know.
though. And stage whispering is, like, louder than talking a lot of the time. He also
says it really weirdly, like the
I'm
accent.
Your father!
No. It almost sounds German when he's like, I'm Leonard Meltzner.
Oh, yeah,
the way he said
it
is almost
weird.
yeah.
I think it's because he's choked up.
I also think it's because when Philip Proctor is putting on an accent here, and it's like he's jumping into like the first line, and I think it's like if he'd said more things, then it would have been normal. But we were like jumping into the first line, and you're trying to like figure out the footing, except that's the only thing, and so it just kind of comes off a little bit. It's because he's changing
accent,
and it also has to be dramatic too. Like he has to say it dramatically with the accent, and he's jumping in without any like lines to lead up to settling it out. So I understand.
If you think about it, if it's like an accent that you're not that familiar with switching back and forth between, then you get stuck in it a lot. Like I'll probably never have a you, Mr. Accent Extraordinaire. But when I was figuring out how to do a British accent, I was just like not even there yet at being like mildly good. I would get stuck in this horrible like 34th, 1/34th of a British accent for like an entire day. I remember it made Mom really annoyed because I went over to like the twins' house and it was when Finding Dory came out, I think, and we were just using accents all day. And then I came home and I couldn't stop, and I was like, I'm never going to be in my normal voice again. And Mom was like, stop. And I was like, oh, I can't.
You sound like Sailor Jane.
Thank you. I try. That's
like
the
what I'm picturing in my
anyone's
mind is the prank call, the Square Enix prank call that we saw.
Oh, that Jared did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working down in Los Angeles. Okay.
How did you not figure out?
Okay. So, back to the top. We have Eugene and Whit, and they're like, hey, this fax number is different. This fax physically originated from Connellsville. What an incredible coincidence. It came from Pete's Gas and Chow. So...
How about the jumbo fork?
Jumbo
fork!
Fit it all in your mouth.
All in your mouth.
And fit it all in your mouth. Is the way that the ad says it. Very creepily. So we get to see PJ again.
I love PJ so much.
I adore PJ and his terrible customer etiquette. He's snarking at Eugene.
PJ is like a horrible person, but he's so much fun, except for when he's causing Jack stress, because then I want to
Eugene
kick him in the shin.
Use of the phone when he comes into the store.
Like, my girlfriend might be on the phone.
Adrian, I'm so sorry.
Adrian, she gets really upset when I'm not on. That's my PJ. Yeah. How does my PJ impersonation
About the same as mine.
Thank you.
And he's like, oh yeah, I remember this happened right when I first started working here just over a year
Pete's
ago.
Gas and Chow. Is this Adrian? No. Hold, please. I just love, like, the monotone. Like, how quick he is. It's
but,
so
like,
funny.
He's been working here for over a year. How has he held down this job for that long with, like, that, like, bedside manner?
I love that, like, Whit and Eugene are immediately like, okay, it's faster to drive to Connellsville. Like, that makes it even funnier to me.
I know. Also, like, not only has he held his job for so long, but he's somehow sustaining this long-distance relationship. Granted, this doesn't sound like a very healthy relationship that he's in.
No, honestly, the way I imagined it is, like, they live 5 minutes away from each other.
But he said the call was long distance.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, this is like... That's hard for PJ, long distance relationship. That seems
maybe that's
difficult.
Like they can't pay for the long distance calls themselves. The only way they can do it is when he's at work. It's like
but he's still like
very Doris. He's
still like, oh, she hates it. I'm so sorry, Adrian. I'm so sorry. Yeah. She hates it when she hears the busy signal. I'm like, okay, dude, you need to get out of this relationship.
PJ stands for
perpetually judgy at phone etiquette. I don't know. Prepare for jurisprudence.
Peanut butter and jelly. I'm so impressed that they didn't use that one immediately and it took them so long to do it.
I love Grady so much, and we talked about this last time.
Good boy.
But like,
my good boy.
They got the box in the last part, but like even after they get it and they get all these donations freely received, Grady looks at it and what he sees is even more things that they can give away to other people, and I'm like, I'm so proud.
And then Christy's like, okay, you can only give away 5 things. He's like, only 5? He's like, I want to give away my inheritance and my firstborn children, and I'm like, calm down, boy.
Good boy.
Good boy. It's beautiful, but you need a little bit of chill. I'm sorry.
So Eugene and Whit, they find the blanket. They go to the homeless shelter. They talk to PJ, they go homeless shelter, solid grounds. They talk to Don Winters. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know, Joel. He comes in here for like a week or 2 at a time, and then he's gone for like a month or whatever, and he's been doing that for like a year. I was like, we never really know where Leonard was going throughout that year-ish that he's been back here. Like, he's apparently drifting in and out in chunks of 1 to several weeks. Is he going to other places to do research on Dalton or to cover his tracks? Or is he just drifting between different homeless shelters so he can, like, not stay in one place for too long?
I bet it's that last one.
That's what I figured. But it's interesting because I'd never thought about it before. Like, where is he going? What is he doing? It's
funny because he presents himself as being so careful. Everything with Eugene and Katrina coming up, he's like, oh, we need to be so careful. Careful.
Yeah.
Oh, careful.
Yeah.
And then, how is my Leonard impersonation?
That's very good.
Thank you. I mastered my
free.
British accent.
You sound so free.
Thank you. I learned it from my Watobi-chan. So, and then,
I meant Gavin Free.
Oh, well, both. I only do free in my accents. You okay?
Yeah.
But in this episode, he's like before and past, Leonard is like, oh, we need to be careful, Thelma, they'll kill us. And this one, he's like, you're my son! In like a crowded room, he like stands up, he's like, oh, everyone! He's like, freaking Darth
really
Vader in the hizzies, like how it should have ended. And he's just like, everyone, look, I have a son!
We have very different perceptions of the volume level going on at the end of this episode.
When Eugene, like, comes in to see him at the homeless shelter, he's like, oh, I need to be careful. And he's just like, oh, I need to talk to you about Leonard Malzer. He's like, I have to go! And then he, like, runs out. the door.
So, yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I'm shocked by how poorly Eugene and Whit handled their first contact with Joel. Like, okay, assuming...
I understand that Eugene was really excited and Whit was like, calm down, you need to chill.
Whit
and
was
Eugene's
the one who
like,
yelled,
I have
though,
no
right?
chill.
Whit was the one who yelled.
Wait, was he?
Whit was like, we have a couple questions to ask you about Leonard Meltzner.
It's Whit's fault then.
I know, that's why I'm so surprised. Like, okay, forgetting any of the intrigue going on with Leonard, it's like any...
Is that why Whit didn't go, like, the second time when Eugene went to talk to him?
Yeah.
Because, honestly, if Eugene just, like, walked up and knocked on the door, and he was just like, hey, and Leonard would be like... I didn't know they hung a mirror on my door. And then Eugene would be like, no. And he's like, yeah, it talks. And then
it's the mirror of Erised. It's the younger me.
I've always wanted to be younger, not get my wife and children back. I just want to be younger.
Sadness. No, he wants Eugene. He wants Eugene back, and now he's there.
I read, like, the first Harry Potter book, like, it was years and years after I watched the first movie, I read the first book. And I got to the Mirror of Erised chapter, and, like, that's what the chapter's called. And I was like, the Mirror of Erased. And then I watched the movie, and they're like, the Mirror of Erised. And I was like, oh, I was way off.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce things.
Okay, so, yeah, any homeless person is reasonably likely to be skittish when some random dudes stroll up with, like, hey, we got just a couple questions to ask you. Like, that's...
I called Shion Exion.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's already a sketchy thing to do to a homeless person. I wouldn't blame them to run just from that. And when you yell that you want to know a guy, like, for you all from the other side, they're like, hey, we want to know about a guy that we think you know and you would know is on the run for his life and is scared that the person who hates him is going to send people to kill him. Like, why would you think that Joel isn't going to try and run away to protect Leonard?
They should have sent Eugene first instead of Whit just barreling.
I know.
Unless...
I'm so surprised
no,
that Whit
actually,
would do
you know
that.
what it was? I was going to say, oh, maybe Whit would be like, oh, turns out, plot twist, I actually met him and we were archaeologist buds. And I was like, actually, if he knew Whit was an archaeologist, he would run even faster. Because he'd be like, I've seen you interact with Donald Kern at parties.
Yeah.
I don't trust that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Whit has his reference to Do or Diet, which I always love. When he's, like, running and it's like...
I need to get back on Connie's diet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's nice, but we all know Connie's diet didn't work that great. Or at least for you. Everyone but you. You did bad.
Well, he did good at first. Losing weight is hard, Victoria.
And then he did bad. It's because Gary Locke has to draw him the one way. He's, like, legally not allowed to draw any
Except
other.
now he is.
Yeah, except for now. He lost, like, so much weight post-hiatus. He got back on that diet.
He got back on that grind.
Connie should go into dieting. Yeah, not herself, like, training people.
Yeah,
I said that bad. Man, we just rag on Gary Locke so much.
And Connie, apparently.
And Connie, too.
I have to say, from a writing perspective, I think it was really clever to answer, like, because Eugene had all these questions in dead ends that he carried over into this one, like, why isn't Leonard looking for me, and stuff like that.
Why do I have a tombstone?
And they answer those questions.
Marley.
They answer those questions by bringing out the final conclusion of the train crash info through the gravestone that in itself is a callback to the beginning of this saga so many years ago when he found his father's headstone.
And then he's just like, Everett? And
yes.
I'm like, can you talk? Did you lose the ability like your father did at the end of this episode? Like, Everett and Leonard Meltzner are a perfect combination.
Leonard Meltzner.
Leonard
Meltzner. It has like a just barely kind of German rounding to it, it's weird.
It's funny because like hearing his American accent, it was like tripping me out. I don't know about you. I was just like, whoa. That you're actually pretty good at this. Like not the voice actor, the character.
Mm.
And I was like, how many homeless shelters do you think he went to when he had, like, this really bad...
Oh, hello there.
Yeah. I am Leonard Rockseeker.
My name is Johan. I would like to be staying in your shelter for a while.
But who... Like, Dalton Kern comes in, and he, like, dresses up someone who... Or Leonard, like, grabs a homeless person, dresses him up in his clothes.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Leonard, I know. And he was like, oh, but who is the real Leonard Meltzer?
I was waiting to jump back in.
Is it you, or is it him, or is it me? And Dalton just shoots Leonard, and he's like, oh, I'm so proud of him, Everett. Oh, I'm so proud. He dies.
I was gonna come back in with, like, a very base level Magic Brian joke, but that was very funny, Victoria.
No, he sees Everett's name is Everett. Oh, Everett.
He's like, you're Leonard Russell. He's like, oh, I can't tell you anything you want to know about the Ashantis, or the Kindu, or Eugene, or Thelma.
Oh,
like, kicks him into, rocks. And he kicks him into the pit. I don't know why I went falsetto. There's no normal falsetto accent with that, but I, like, really, like, pushed it up even more.
It's so good.
Oh, man. Link to that in the description. I think we spent long enough on that. I want to provide context.
So, I can tell you anything you want to know about
dwarves or rocks. I love the accent. Where are you from? I know.
Finally, someone talks normally.
Oh, yes, he did it with all of his bad, sinister magics.
Please watch the video.
Oh, it's so good. I love the
Are you going to link the
So
animatic?
yeah.
Good,
okay.
Good.
So yeah, and then, like you said, they plant the seed of Everett Meltzner down in there, so that's like...
and Eugene's like, who's Everett? He's like, oh, that's my baby boy. And Eugene's like, we have a baby boy. I'm like, you'll get another one in the future. Soon you'll have
Which
money,
is good,
boy.
because you're not going to have this one for long.
Yeah, you're not going to have this one for long. You're just going to trade them out for each other. One comes in, the other one goes out.
Man, this is another one of those things. I'm like, what would that have been when it first came out? Like, finding out, like, Eugene has a surprise brother.
And
if I hadn't been spoiled by the timeline in the beginning of the official guide that Eugene was going to have a surprise brother.
Honestly, I feel like I would have been really hyped for more Everett.
Yeah, would have just gotten hopes up more.
Even more disappointed. So I'm glad we weren't along with that.
Fair enough.
Trip.
So,
actually, maybe we'll get more Everett. This is like these past couple years. Get more brother content on Odyssey. More sibling content.
Mm-hmm.
We get more Jules. We're getting Charlotte. We got my good boy Wellington.
That's true. Good point.
And we got Wilson. So, like, why not more Everett?
That's literally like siblings for every other of the main four characters except for Eugene.
Why didn't we ask Kathy about Everett?
I'm sure it wasn't her decision.
I know, but
like
why didn't we ask her if they'd ever contemplate bringing Everett and Leonard back? Why did we never think to ask that?
That's a good question. There's lots of things we could have asked, though, to that note.
Go ask Kathy later.
So, speaking of the gravestones, they note the date of Eugene's death and how it matches the crash in Kindu, but they don't think to look at, or they're like, who's this Everett? They don't think to look at Everett's birth year on the stone to figure out he's not someone up in Eugene's family tree, and it would have been very evident if they'd looked at the date like, oh, this is someone young who died at 2 years old. Like,
say that. I thought they were gonna, like, look at it and what was gonna be like, hey, Eugene, this one is from the time when they were in the Ashanti village.
It's much younger than you, and you died at 2 years old.
And his gravestone is, like, right by yours. And Eugene would be like, oh my gosh, maybe I have another distant cousin. Oh, that's so crazy. And I like, throw a rock at his face.
Which means you must be the photographer. Ash, you stupid...
I can't even remember the quote before that exactly. It's like, you're in this photo.
It was like, she had this photo of her family, and you have the same photo of her with her mother. And, and her father was missing, but you have this photo of her too, which means you must be the photographer. And Pikachu's just like...
I love 4Kids
Yeah, I like how this episode has this, I guess it's not subtle thing, I guess it does end up kind of being the main theme, about how, well, no, I'll say this part of it is a subtler theme. It's this thing about how acts of love, small and large, God will work through in, like, the weirdest, unexpected ways. Because while they were searching for Leonard, they never would have found him if Grady hadn't given his blanket to a stranger in the park, nor if Wits End hadn't been hosting a dinner for the homeless to which Leonard could be invited.
Oh, and it's like, Wits End was hosting it.
All these other things that were going on, and if they hadn't been, like, who knows if they would have been able to find Joel again.
I just love, like, the audible smiles on Eugene and Witt's faces when Grady says, like, he invited him to the dinner.
I know.
And they're just like, we're finally gonna get him.
It finally paid off.
We're finally gonna kill that guy. It's gonna be so great. We're gonna put your skin on walls, smell, so good. You remember that video?
Yeah.
I'm getting into too many colleges. Put that video link in the description. That video is great.
No, we didn't talk about it nearly enough to warrant that. I like Whit and Eugene's discussion about understanding. I really like this. This discussion about understanding how, like, it's this tricky balance. God's plans will work out regardless of how we try to intervene. So you can do whatever, and it's fine. It'll work out anyways. And
more High School Music.
On the other hand, yeah, we need to adhere to God's plan as hard as we can. Otherwise, things won't work out for us because we disobeyed and strayed from the path set for us. It's a hard to balance. It's a very, like, nuanced spiritual conversation to understand how these interact, and I'm glad that they addressed it with this. And it wasn't just a subtle theme. It was what Chris talked about at the end of the episode. And then, yeah, he's like, I'm Leonard Meltzer, and I'm like, man, what a wild finale that must have been. Like, they dropped that literally in the last 10 seconds of the episode.
Yeah, but I feel like you can figure it out.
Can you?
Yeah.
They go out of their way to physically describe what Leonard looks like and physically describe
fair.
Joel. And
Eugene's also, like, but you can't be Leonard Meltzer. You don't have a mustache.
They also...
And then he rips off
the
his
cap.
Mission Impossible mask, and there's a mustache underneath, and Eugene's like, Dad! And
he rips off his Justice League Photoshop, and there's a mustache underneath.
And
Henry
Eugene's
Cavill,
like,
is that you?
Oh, thank God, that's not your real face. I was worried. Your mouth wasn't moving at the same time. Yeah. Your
I'm
body
Leonard Meltzer.
I'm not. That's why he sounded like that at the end of the episode. He was Henry Cavill. It explains so much.
It does. What was I saying?
About finale.
They point out, like, they go out of their way to not only be like, remind us that Leonard looks just like Eugene, and he's like, oh, tall and skinny.
It's
and
not
stuff.
like mustaches can be shaved, so it can't be him.
They also physically describe Joel's body shape to help us believe, like, oh, he's not the same person. But they also...
He was wearing that, like, Rooster Teeth pregnant belly.
Yeah. They also have that line where PJ remembered Joel saying, oh, I have to send this for somebody, which would suggest that, like, Joel was sending it on behalf of Leonard, which is interesting because it's the first time I've ever interpreted the line that way. I always thought it was...
It's not like he can lie.
Well, I know, but I'm saying...
I know. It sounds...
We're led to believe that won't be Leonard.
Yeah, okay. Admittedly, I probably would have thought, like, either small chance it's Leonard or it's, like, someone who knows him.
Exactly, because I wouldn't have expected them to find him so fast. I figured it would be like, okay, here's another step
also,
in the chain.
Also, it was, like, so easy once Eugene finally did start talking to him. He's like, you look like somebody I used to know. And you hear, like, his accent.
You make him sound like the Mandarin.
That's what...
You look like somebody I used to know.
It's, like, such a flat American accent.
And they'll never see me coming.
And he shoots Dalton. And Dalton's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Comedy genius. I didn't take a comedy class for nothing, you know. I didn't take Steve Martin's
Martin Shorts.
Whoever's comedy class for nothing.
Here's how you figured out if a joke is good. You call Martin Short and you ask him if a joke is good or not, and he'll tell you. What if you don't have Martin Short's phone number?
I finished him a Bitman the episode the other day, and I guess I was in the middle of another one because I fell asleep and I stopped listening to it. And so all the past ones between them somehow got deleted. So I was listening to the newest episode, it ended, and all I heard was Justin saying, like, so I'm in this comedy class, and I yelled, no! And I ended the episode. I was like, I've heard these episodes like 3 times, and that's 3 times too many. I can't do it again. It's so bad. And I love that Griffin, like, the next episode, Griffin's like, no, we can't do this again. This wasn't funny.
We cannot do this twice.
No! We can't do this again. Please.
So...
What does it mean? Why does he need it now? Oh, what's his name? What's the boy's name in Shrimp Heaven now?
I don't know.
I know what it is.
So that is the episode. That's the 2-parter that closes out album 46.
Daniel.
Yeah.
I remember because I've seen so many Camp animatics.
Yes, of course.
Please, Daniel, we can't keep doing this.
It closes out album 46 and leads us into 47 Into the Light, which picks up right where this one leaves off.
With the previously on.
Yes. So...
Are we getting serious now?
Yeah. Hey, kids. It's time to talk about the nature of reality. Well, yeah, final thoughts on the episode, Victoria? On these two episodes.
Good stuff. Especially PJ. I'm gonna say solid 4.5. Very satisfying. Good stuff all around. Lots of new history and info. Lots of payoff. Grady's a good boy. Everything was good.
Yeah. It was pretty similar to what I was thinking. I'm going to say maybe 4.7. This is a great 2-parter that has good focus on, like, how we need to understand, like, the balance between, like, prayer and action in terms of when we need to act on things in our lives of faith. Also good act, like I just said, there's understanding the balance between, like, knowing that God's will is going to be worked out and that we don't have to worry about, like, oh, we're going to majorly screw it up, but also start understanding that it is in our best interest to, you know, try and stick to his will as best we can, because, you know, he'll accomplish things, but the closer we can stick to the way he designed it, the more ideal it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So that's good. And like I said, there's also kind of this subtle theme that I picked up on, at least I doubt it was intentional, showing, like, the little ways that people helped out and stuff were all necessary along the way for stuff to work out, and it shows how the little acts that we do not only help people in the ways that we think, but can have unintended positive consequences for God to work out other things in their lives, in our lives, etc., etc.
I think that was purposeful in the episode.
Perhaps. I mean, I think it might have just been from a writing perspective to link everything together narratively.
I know that too.
But yeah, I was thinking about it. Both is good.
Yeah. Mom was watching Road to El Dorado a couple weeks ago because it was on TV, and I was like, heck yeah!
That's a good movie.
And then I came in, like, while they were running away from, like, the bull and everything, and I pointed to the TV and I yelled, look at that bad CGI on the barrel, as it was being taken into the ship. And I was like, ooh, that's bad.
It sounded like you were going to say a vine there. When I was going on the beach with Caslow, in Caslow with Dad on Wednesday, and there was, like, Canadian geese everywhere on the beach, and I was like, look at all those chickens. Dad didn't say anything. He didn't even, like, acknowledge it at all.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not even a way, like, where he's just, like, didn't even want to acknowledge it. Like, he didn't even hear me say it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not as funny, then.
I know. It's a good
You need to say it
look at all
time.
those chickens.
Or, like, when the pig with the blanket wrapped around it, it's brought down to the hotel lobby, he's like, "Aw, is that a chicken?"
Is this a butterfly? Or is this a pigeon? Sorry, what am I doing? Shame on me. There is one the other way around, though. There is another screenshot the other way around that's like, is this a butterfly? And it is a pigeon, so it's like...
There's one, and it was Thor, and he was going like this, and it was a green butterfly, and he was like, is this Loki? And then I cried. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it's so great themes. We have great character stuff where Eugene has all these incredible revelations about the history of his family, about the brunettes, and, like, Michael, and about the incest in his family he wasn't aware of, and about the train crash in Kindu, and how he almost died, and how Leonard thought that he died, and the beginning of the seeds about his parents. He finally finds Leonard and Grady's here being like the purest sweet boy, and being so charitable and generous that it's just like heart-wrenching. It's good stuff. It's good content. 4.8, I say now. 4.8.
I love that part at the end when Eugene runs over to Leonard, and you can hear his like little feet tapping on the ground as he runs
Eugene
over.
Or Grady?
And he looks up at Leonard.
Eugene or Grady?
Eugene.
Okay.
And he goes, Daddy? And Leonard looks down. He's like, do I look like you? And he's like, oh, frick, wait, I am.
Oh. Rip in pieces, Vine.
Oh, I miss Vine so much.
So that's that. Do you have any other things to say about the episode?
0 out of 5 needed more Leonard Meltzner's Magic Brian.
Oh, hello there.
I can tell you anything you
Welcome
want about
to
the Ashanti. Okay, we gotta go.
Who's the real Leonard Meltzner? Is it possible he cursed this other homeless man to sound German and weird?
Yes,
oh, yes, that's what he did. He's a bad man with all sorts of sinister magics.
Go watch that video. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Okay, what do we do next time, Victoria?
It's anniversary?
Nope. One more episode. We're talking about the next, yes.
Charlotte, the OIC episode of the month of Charlotte. We can go listen to it now. Devin's gonna die.
Secrets revealed, finally.
You're never gonna see Devin again. This last time you're gonna see him.
Because I'm gonna die.
He's gonna die. So say goodbye to him.
Remember all those years when I was like, Whit has a sister, and everyone's like, you're dumb, that's not canon. And I was like, he has a sister.
And I was one of those people who called you dumb.
I know. And now it's real, and now it's like...
But you're also still dumb.
I know, but both. Why not both?
Why not both? No, I'm dumb too, though, because I was also wrong. We're both dumb.
But I was right, at least.
You were right, yeah. We're both dumb.
+1 for
But
Devin.
you were right. You know, I'll give you 1 prediction point. I'll give you like 5 prediction points. You're still super behind.
I'm like, this is like the parable that Nathan told David, and I'm like the poor man with the 1 lamb, and that's my point.
Aww.
And you just wanted to take it away and
I
slaughter
gave you
it.
like 5 prediction points.
Except, I'd like to point out, you are not the banker in this game of prediction Monopoly, okay? I have plenty of prediction points.
I never said you didn't.
You do constantly.
No, you have like 5 on top of what you previously had.
Oh, okay.
It's just...
I think you meant 5 ever.
No, on top of what it's just I'm still winning regardless.
Yeah, I know, but I've been doing alright lately.
You're doing alright.
I feel like the last year, the past year, I've been doing pretty alright with predictions.
Plus, we also both got 100 prediction points for Macy Makes the Big Cake.
It's true.
So...
That kind of proportionally even the scales a little bit by bringing me closer fractionally.
But 100 both.
Well, I know, but I'm saying proportionally they both increased, and so now the difference between us is smaller compared to like the total amount relatively.
Okay.
So
0 out of 5 needs more Macy.
Yeah. Okay, so next time, Charlotte, and then what's the other episode we're talking about?
The 30th anniversary special.
Yeah.
Hopefully it has new content, because we found out today it might not.
Yeah, I hadn't watched it yet, and I was checking something on AIOO Wiki when I was writing the Romances episode, and I was like... First off, I saw that it apparently still does not have a name. It's just called 30th Anniversary Live Show, which says a lot. And I was like, apparently it's just these old rehashed sketches, and we had planned on giving it its own episode to review, because it's like an hour long.
It's just an hour long of... You can hear, like, water and some kids screaming in the background and just, like, people talking in the background.
They just turned on the mic in someone's bathroom.
And then you can hear someone walking over after 20 minutes say, oh no, I forgot. And then you hear a little click of a cassette tape, and then Young Guns Bonanza starts playing. And then, it's like 10 minutes later, once it's done.
in the Big Valley.
It gets, like... stuck,
Our story begins
and then you
with
just
Matt Cartwood.
hear like this like the audio getting drug out and like all these voices going, and then you hear like it burst into flames,
and then you hear like Stephanie,
a flame extinguisher, and then you just hear Pauline, and you go like, oh, that's a goodbye.
Oh, it must be his ranch house dressing.
And then they're like, how long was this?
Haven't we done enough Young Guns like, Bonanza, guys?
How long is this episode supposed to be? I was like, I don't know, just stop it. And Paul's like, okay. And then he has someone squirt sunscreen in his eye.
We've already done it in a live show before.
And then he accidentally doesn't press stop, and then half an hour later they realize that it needs to be stopped, and that's
we were going to give it its own episode because we're like, wow, it's so long, and then I was like, I think there might not be any new content in this except for like,
but we're gonna listen to it anyway.
Julius Schnitzelbonker interludes, interstitials.
Is that what we're calling them now in the Adventure Zone? I hope not. Is he actually going to be in it?
Yes.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes. So.
Oh no.
So that's what we're talking about next time.
No.
Until then, thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And Devin and I are gonna both die in the next episode for very different reasons.
And you've been watching episode 149 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.